Well, good evening, everyone. It is that time again. It's time for late night coffee talk, and I got my coffee here, and got some questions. You guys will come up with more. I sense that this is going to be a very questiony one. Hey, did you guys notice it's a little dark over there? I think I've got a light out. Anyway, so glad you could be here. Glad to be back this week. And I got to tell you, I'm really digging the Thursday night shift. And I think many of you are as well. Got some notes of appreciation thanking us for moving it. So, yeah, pretty happy about that. No one's complained. I like it when no one complains. Well, I mean, people complain, just not about the shift, right? And that's cool too. Anyway, look, I've got a full cup of coffee and I am ready to visit with you tonight. So let's get started by taking care of a little business. First and foremost, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to Late Night Coffee Talk. I'm Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. And this is the time once a week where I take a break from working on independence. I pour yet another cup of coffee. Fire up the camera and we have a conversation. I take your questions, I answer your questions as long as we have time to do so, and occasionally talk about things that are on my mind, things that are important to me. So I have a feeling tonight is going to be a good mix. And if you want to ask a question tonight, pretty simple to do. First and foremost, if you are watching, no matter what platform you're watching on, you could drop an email to coffeetalk@dtnm.org. You'll see it down at the bottom of the screen here shortly. Additionally, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can obviously, while you're there, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. But you can drop your questions directly in the chat, and we get them over here in this little window, and we get to see them, right? So drop your questions there, and we'll definitely take a look at those. But yeah, while you're there, say hello to everybody that's watching along with you. And that reminds me, contrary to some jackwagon who was losing his mind in the YouTube chat a couple of weeks ago, we actually stream on more than one platform because some people prefer other platforms. And so if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like and share, and you can drop your questions in the comments. Additionally, if you're watching us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and they are not having problems like they were earlier today, you can drop your question in the chat there as well. If you are watching us on YouTube, which we really do appreciate, there's some opportunities over there. Drop us a super chat, right? Let us know that you appreciate the work that we're doing, and heaven knows we could use it right now. Additionally, while you're there, explore the channel memberships. As a matter of fact, all of our channel members, who we'll be recognizing later, already have early access to the next episode of the Texas News Podcast, where I interview Stuart Rhodes, who was the founder of Oath Keepers and who had his sentence over J6 commuted by Trump. And it was a full-on hour-long interview, and you're going to want to see it. But you know, if you were a channel member already, you would already have early access to it, and you could be watching that instead, right? So, you know, a little from column A, a little from column B. That being said, we are going to, oh, and hello to the folks over on Rumble. We sure are glad that you're watching us over there. I really wish that Rumble was doing some of the things for us that we could do on YouTube. For example, aggregating the chats like the other platforms, but they're not doing that. And you know, the channel memberships on Rumble, they're just not they're not where they need to be for our people yet. But they'll get there. You know, we're not Rumble, we're not Tim Pool or any of those other guys, right? So we don't get a lot of the access to a lot of those things they get access to. So don't at me, and don't send me hate mail. Just the way it is. YouTube's good to us right now. So we'll see how long that lasts. All right. Let's get down to the brass tacks. So while I give you guys an opportunity to get some more questions in, because I'm just not seeing enough. right? I've seen some comments, but not seen enough questions. Got some via email that we could take care of, but I do want to share this with you. So you guys remember last June, we lost David Thomas Roberts. Dave Roberts, phenomenal guy. He was the owner of Defiance Press and Publishing, who published the Texas book. He was on our advisory board for the T&M, and he just passed away suddenly back in June, and it was a big hit to all of us. Well, there has been a little bit of, I say a little bit, given all of the dysfunction in the Texas House, it's gotten swallowed up. But many of you know that the Texas Legislature does these things in the House and the Senate both, but in the House they do things called memorial resolutions, right? And a lot of them are to a resolution to memorialize someone of significance. And I mean, they do them all the time. Now, I'm not talking about those lame ones, designating San Marcos as the mermaid capital of Texas and crap like that. I mean, they're memorial recognitions or memorial resolutions. There's two different things, memorial resolution and a memorial recognition. Well, State Representative Steve Toth had introduced one back at the very beginning of March, a memorial resolution to, recognize Dave, to memorialize Dave Roberts. And all of those go to a specific committee in the Texas House, a committee that's chaired by none other than Jared Patterson, the guy who looks like a cross between Alfred Newman and a struck match. Yeah, that guy. If you don't know who Alfred Newman is, then I've dated myself. And if you do, then you're as old as me. Congratulations, if not older. But anyway, we got word that Patterson was refusing to advance Dave's memorial resolution. And it was all politically based, right? I mean, you saw issues like this earlier in the session with Joe Glover's memorial resolution. Many Republicans that are watching, you're going to know who Joe Glover is. There was, it was all over politics, and Dave's was no different. And so Steve called me up and he said, I can't believe, he said, they're doing all these memorial resolutions for basically all of these, just any kind of random person, right? Not saying they don't deserve to be memorialized, right? But they're flying them through. And I mean, some of them are just, their politics was so far apart from where things are here in Texas that, and especially pro-Texas politics. And, they were just letting all these fly. If you were hanging off the jock of Jared Patterson or some of those guys, or were a Democrat, your stuff was going through. But people like Joe Glover or Dave Roberts, that wasn't happening. And it was all Jared Patterson's doing. And it's because he's vindictive and spiteful. It's just the way that he rolls. But anyway, there was a mechanism, not a way to cure that, because Patterson, ultimately as chairman, had the discretion to do what he did. And that's a topic for maybe later, who knows. But they could do what was essentially a memorial recognition from the floor, where Steve would go down and essentially recognize Dave's family if they were there in the gallery. And that's exactly what went down today. And if you don't mind, I'd like to play it for you.
Members, please take your seats for memorial recognition. The chair recognizes Mr. Toth for memorial recognition.
Members, Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life and legacy of a truly exceptional man and also a dear friend, Dave Thomas Roberts, who went to be with the Lord on June 30th, 2024. Dave was an amazing guy. My freshman year in the Texas House, I got back to my room at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and there on my bed was a book, Patriots of Treason. And I picked the book up, started reading it, and the next thing I knew, it was time to go back to the House floor the next morning. It was just captivating. Dave had a way of drawing you in as a writer. He was an amazing man. He was a pillar in our community. He was a man whose life embodied the values of hard work, faith, and service. He was born in Illinois, and Dave's life embodied the old saying that you don't come to Texas, you move to Texas. Right? How's this go? You don't move to Texas, you come to Texas, and then Texas moves into you. Dave embodied that. I mean, he was the essence of what it was to be a Texan. He grew up in Houston, graduated from Aldine High School, went on to study at the University of Texas at Austin, and Texas quickly became more than just a home. It became his heart and his identity. His entrepreneurial spirit knew no bounds. He founded several successful ventures, including Telegistics, Defiance Press and Publishing, Procurologics, and Comanche Rose Ranch, which he named after his loving wife, Rose, who's with us today in the audience. Each business bore the mark of his bold vision and relentless work ethic. Dave believed deeply in the power of small businesses to drive innovation and opportunity, and he championed the role of an entrepreneurship in building a better future, not just for him, not just for his family, but for all of Texas. Dave was a Texan to his core. Anybody that knew him can attest to this. Perhaps nothing captured that spirit more than his Texas-shaped swimming pool that he proudly built behind his house and behind the Texas dance hall that he had built behind his house, which was the most amazing thing. But as much as he loved Texas, his greatest devotion was to his family. For over 40 years, he stood beside his beloved wife, Rose, raising Tiffany, Tanya, Travis, and Tanner. And to his grandchildren, he's known as Papa. He was a steady source of warmth, wisdom, and love. He's a great guy. And we want to recognize his family who is with us today in the audience. We love you guys. You're in our hearts and prayers. We love your dad, and we're so thankful for you and the legacy that you guys will continue to bring forth to us here in Texas. The passing of Dave left a deep void, not only in the hearts of his family and friends, but in the entire community that he served with such passion and purpose. And members, I ask you to join me in honoring the life of David Thomas Roberts. He was a champion of Texas values and a man whose impact will be felt for generations to come. He was a true Texan through and through.
Members, please rise for a moment of silence.
So I have to say thank you to Steve for not giving up, because just how just like I think, let me just say it this way. I think that the fight over this memorial resolution that ultimately Steve was able to do with a recognition from the floor, and you know, everything with Patterson and House leadership, and I think this thing really exemplifies the way that the Texas Legislature is right now. To me, and here's what's funny. I think that I'm about to John Bolgiano wants me to rant about the Texas Legislature, and so I think I'm about to accommodate him, not for the sake of ranting, but because we've entered what I would consider the worst, most anti-Texas dysfunction that you could possibly see. And I know that I've bagged on the House a lot lately, the Texas House. And I know that I have said the Texas Senate deserves its fair share of it too. But as we come here to the end of this legislative session, I think it is abundantly clear to everyone that this battle is truly that. It's a battle. It's a fight. We have literally spent, days and days and days, I mean, weeks, honestly, watching the Texas Legislature fail time after time after time after time. I don't want you guys to take my tone or my sort of slow manner of speech right now as a sign of despair or being destitute. I think where I am is I really hope that all of you out there can truly grasp the gravity of the situation that we are in right now, the situation that Texas is in. I really hope that every one of you guys can look and see that on one hand, we've got all of these, what are turning out to be massively empty promises of fixing the federal government. We knew that, right? I mean, that's not news to us. The federal government is irredeemable. But on this other hand, where we thought there might potentially be a bulwark, a spark, something that if the federal government ever just went absolutely crazy insane, that these guys might have enough snap to do something, to help, to be that bulwark, to coalesce, to come together, to say, you know what, that crap is fine on the other side of the Texas borders, but not here. But what we've got is we've got a body of people, both sides, House and Senate, that have turned what is essentially a blind eye and deaf ear to people being taxed out of their homes under this immoral property tax. Literally, they are getting ready to shuck and jive to every single one of you guys that they lowered property taxes. And while they lowered the rate, they didn't cap appraisals. So you can expect, many of you can expect an increase in your property taxes because these guys are playing fast and loose so they can go put some crap on a mailer and drop it in your box and claim that they were the most conservative session ever. We did more than any session before to help out the people of Texas. And they're lying to every single one of you. They're lying to all of us. How any of these people, the fact that there is even a chance that these people could get reelected is sickening. It's sickening. That people would either be so complacent or complicit as to cast a vote for some of these people again. Rule 44 censures in the Republican Party are flying left and right. And we'll see how that plays out. But I don't know. I don't know that the Republican Party as a brand here in Texas, I don't know where it goes from here if it does not take radical action to remove these people from the ballot to keep them from running as Republicans. I don't know. The Dems are going to dim. This is the kind of crap that they've got in their platform. You can expect them to do these sorts of things. But these alleged pro-Texas people, I mean, we're still dealing with the SB 17, which is a common sense piece of legislation. Do not let shell companies or front people for foreign adversaries purchase property in Texas. Something that's pretty daggum popular. I'm sure if you go man on the street to a lot of people here in Texas and say, do you think the Chinese Communist Party and the PLA ought to be buying land next to Lackland Air Force Base? They're probably going to say no, right? Common sense. And then you have Matt Shaheen state rep try to get an amendment in there to essentially say, yeah, we can't sell it to them, but we can lease it to them for 99 years, right? I mean, it's just utterly ridiculous. Look, and I know I talked about this before, right? They're the 2Ds, divide and demoralize. They're going above and beyond. I mean, they're just getting so crazy and so wild. We wanted property tax relief. We wanted to expand the state guard. We wanted transactional gold. We wanted to protect the grid. Thank goodness we got that done. I mean, after 3 or 4 sessions, they finally had to throw Bob Hall a bone and literally grid protection, electric grid protection and security has been on Bob Hall's radar since he hit the doors of the Senate. And now, because he might be retiring out, they're going to throw him a bone. That's, protecting yourself is not crumbs from the master's table. It's fundamental. I mean, we literally just spent 4 years complaining about the federal government under President Peapad not protecting our southern border, failing to do what they're supposed to do. And here we got, it takes, 4 sessions, 3 sessions, 4 sessions, whatever it is, to get the grid bill passed. I mean, it is utter insanity that on one hand, they complain right in their mailers about the Biden agenda and all these things. And then on the other hand, they're passing bills just like it. Look, when people are being taxed out of their homes, when the property tax auctions happen in your county seat, I want you to go down there, and all those people that are losing their property, I want you to remind them that instead of giving property tax relief to these people, we gave $500 million to Hollywood, right? And I get it. They all love schmoozing with all right, and Woody Harrelson, right? I mean, they loved it. They got up there and we got to hang with these celebs and all this crap, but the people of Texas are suffering. And here we sit. With perhaps, and I'm going to tell you, I can't disagree with what Michael Quinn Sullivan said from Texas Scorecard. He said that this might be the most conservative Texas House that we've had in a decade. And people piled all over him for that. You've sold out to Dustin Burrows. It's like, people, you didn't get what he was saying. He's saying that as bad as it was, this still might be more conservative than what came before, with Dave Phelan as speaker and Dennis Bonnen as speaker and Joe Strauss as speaker, right? I mean, I can't necessarily disagree with him, but we're at a time in the life and history of Texas, with the world the way that it is, with the economy the way that it is, with politics and with culture where it is, that we can't afford this sort of thing. I can't disagree that it might be the most conservative session, but I'm going to tell you, in all of my time working the Texas Legislature, this is the worst, most dysfunctional legislature that I've ever seen. We wanted property tax relief. We wanted to end in-state tuition for illegal aliens, right? Dan Patrick's first campaign promise that he made when he ran for lieutenant governor was to end in-state tuition for illegal aliens. Still not done. People want to put us on a path to eliminate property tax. What did we get? Well, let me go shoot some crappy short videos at a place that sells lottery tickets, and let's ban THC. Not here to debate the merits of that. I'm not here to debate the merits of that, but I'm saying this is not what the people of Texas are asking for. Not by any long shot. Everybody here in Texas understands that the federal government is going to fall down on us and smash us all at some point. Maybe we got to pause. Maybe we don't. Maybe Trump's just putting the foot to the accelerator. But here in Texas, we've got a government that just seems hell-bent on, I don't even know what. I mean, if you were to take a look at the broad spectrum of the bills that these jokers push through, I don't know that you could find any coherent theme among any of it. I don't know that there's a coherent theme. I don't know. Maybe placate the Democrats, maybe. And I'm not here to slam Democrats. What I am here to do is slam a dysfunctional, allegedly representative body, a bicameral legislature that does not seem to represent the people that it purports to represent. It is an absolute teetotal and utter mess. And so I want you to go back a couple of weeks and I want you to go watch the live stream that I did where I talk about this strategy, divide and demoralize. I told you they were going to go big and be ridiculous and continue down that path because they want to crush. I mean, let's just tie this back to how this conversation started. What purpose is there for denying a memorial resolution for staunch pro-Texas or conservative people offered by one of your colleagues on the Texas House floor? What is the purpose of squashing that, if not to send a message, to demoralize, to lord it over? Like the proverbial playground bully. This is what they're doing because they don't want you to get up and they don't want you to fight. They want you to just shut up and they want you to take the crumbs from the master's table and understand that they are in charge, that ultimately they are the people that are going to run things, and you cannot let that happen. I can't do this by myself. I can't do it. It's not up to me as an individual to do it. It's up to me as an individual to take action, but it's not up to me as an individual. It's up to you. And if you're as sick of this as I hope you are, then going inert, going into neutral is not a plan. It is not a strategy. Going in and, raising holy hell on the south steps of the Capitol is not a plan. It's not a strategy. Old man shaking fist at cloud is not a plan or a strategy. We've said it time and time and time and time again. The battle for Austin is being fought right now, but it's not in Austin. The battle for Austin is being fought in your city, in your town, in your districts, in your churches, in your workplaces, because 99 times out of 100, you talk to somebody about all of this weird, let's regulate helium balloons, right? Or any of this other crap. I mean, they literally had a piece of legislation on the floor. This is how crazy it is. They literally had a piece of legislation on the floor to determine whether or not we should teach children that communism was bad. And they literally had 20 some odd reps vote against that piece of legislation. This is what you're working with. See, what you got now is you got 20 some odd outed commies in the Texas House of Representatives, and that's who leadership made a deal with to become leadership. When you make a deal with the commies, what happens? Well, this is effectively what they've done. So, I mean, I'm just painting the picture for you here. 20 plus some odd outed commies. That's who the alleged most conservative session leadership ever partnered up with to get leadership. And what did they do? They acted like a bunch of communist thugs. Retribution, right? Public shaming, public humiliation rituals. I mean, it is, and they're not just crapping all over these reps, right? These reps represent people. Steve Toth represents people. Brian Harrison has a district. He represents people, right? Andy Hopper represents people. So all of these folks, so they're not just crapping on the individual reps. They're doing it to all of those other Texans as well. And then with these policies, when they fail to address the critical needs of Texas, well, now they're just hitting all of us. This joke of property tax relief, It's all of us. They hit all of us. They screwed every single one of us because that's what they do. We can't let them get away with it. We simply cannot let them get away with it. But all of that said, we've got an opportunity. These guys, I'm going to tell you the sentiment out there right now. I think that if civic engagement raises, AKA we are out there shouting it from the rooftops and in the face and the ears of every single Texan that we possibly can, and tell them that little Johnny just broke the law by letting his helium balloon go, or they basically made it to where their property taxes can go up. And they, if we get out there and we talk about these things, they prevented us from having our own currency. Everybody that has ever sent me an email or a question on Coffee Talk saying, what are we going to do about a currency? I said, we're this far, and they pass a bill. Well, guess what? If you're not upset, all of you people that have sent me emails about we need currency before we do anything, you should be furious. You should be shouting it from the rooftops. You should be out there, just absolutely livid over these things. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying just get in people's faces, but what I'm saying is you got to turn that anger, that upset, that frustration into something productive, right? Because if you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not even going to bother because it's an exercise in futility. What you've done is you've raised the flag of surrender. And if you want to know what happens when you raise the flag of surrender, go look up what happened at Goliad during the Texas Revolution. There's a reason it's called the Goliad Massacre, because they surrendered and then they were executed. Right? So surrender generally doesn't end well. Essentially what you're doing if you surrender is you're saying, I'm in. Whatever you want, I'm fine with. You want to raise property taxes? I'm cool with that. You want to throw tons and tons of tax money at DEI and trans and kids and all that. I'm cool with that. That's what you're saying, right? That's exactly what you're saying if you surrender. So here's where is real Texians, and I think maybe that letter last week is still kind of ringing that I read on here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go do it. But I think it's still kind of resonating in my head and heart. I made no bones about the fact that it was, to me, one of the pieces, one of the correspondence from the Texas Revolution that has stuck with me ever since I read it. I mean, it really affected my outlook about how we prosecute the path toward Texas independence. And good or bad, some people may argue that that's not a good thing, but I want to honor their legacy. They won, right? They won, and I want to, and they handed us a legacy of independence and freedom, and I want that attitude. That's the attitude I want. That's the attitude I think that Texians should have, because that's the attitude, the spirit that built Texas as a self-governing independent nation state the first go around. So I think it's still resonating with me. And I think that ultimately, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch last week. Or I think the article may be on TNM Social or on Texian Partisan, whatever it is. But understand, I think that may be the moment that we're at. I mean, I think we may be at a moment where every single one of us, that letter was a gut check. When it was sent, it was like, guys, you need to, individuals that are reading this, you need to have some introspection, and you need to examine your commitment. Because I can tell you right now, there are too many Texans that are checked out. They're checked out here and they're checked out here. And what that is, that's a surrender. That says, hey, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I honestly, I would take full in the face opposition every single day, twice on Sundays, over apathetic, sort of mealy mouth, squish in the middle of the road alleged friends. I would. I'm going to get hate mail over what I just said. And I understand. I understand why I'm going to get it. And I'm here to tell you that Texas is too important for me to hold my tongue on this. I mean, it is. The Texas itself. I mean, I'm not even just talking about the cause of independence. I'm talking about the reality of Texas surviving into the next generation to be something worth preserving. You know, I look at this legislative session, I feel like we're in an existential crisis. I mean, and the sad part is it's not from that cancer in Washington, D.C., although that's where the origination point is. But it's that cancer has grown inside government here in Texas, and they want to treat Texas government like a AAA ball club to go jump up there to what they perceive as the big leagues. And they're governing as bad, if not worse, as Washington, D.C. It's a cancer. They're a cancer, and they have to be cut out. So, look, I'm just going to encourage all of you, you know, much like that letter did, I think for the people that read it back in 1835, I think it's time for some personal introspection. You know, is Texas worth saving? You know, I believe it is. It's our home. I think there's a legacy there, and I think that it deserves to be preserved and expanded and not surrendered to the darkness. I think there is a flame there, and I believe I want to save our home. I want my children and grandchildren and their children and future generations to know Texas as it should be, not as that vision that's being painted by these other people. This total insanity. Oh yeah. Hey John, I did it. All right, let me do this. Let's take a look here. Hey, let's do that. Hey, let me thank you, Eric. Eric and his super chat for $50, man. Thank you so much. See, this is what I'm talking about. You know, and before you send me the hate mail about, oh, you're just begging for money. No, I mean, no, I'm not begging for money, but I'm just saying thank you to Eric. And thank you for showing some commitment, because it's things like this. I got to remember where I'm pointing. Things like this that help us reach more Texans, to help them understand, to help connect them. Look, if you think that this crap runs on rainbows and unicorn farts, you're out of your mind. That's not how this operates. Things cost, servers cost, digital access costs, mailers cost, flyers cost, just being able to send out emails costs. And Eric just helped offset that. He helped shoulder that much more of the burden. And so, Eric, thank you. And I would encourage others to follow suit. He did a super chat right there on YouTube. They make it super, super easy. So thank you. And let me do this. Man, you know what? I did not mean to start on a downer. I really didn't. I didn't. So you know what I'm going to do? I can't do that because they'll give us a copyright strike. I was going to play something for you, but I can't. This is why we can't have nice things. But I did want to show you this. I wanted to go ahead and remind you that we do have the channel memberships. I want to go ahead and thank these people for being YouTube channel members. It's grown since last week, and I am very appreciative of that. And as a matter of fact, these are the people that got early access to the Texas News podcast, which, well, as I said at the very beginning, you're going to freak when you see it. it's pretty doggone cool. But anyway, thank you to those guys that are helping keep the T&M out there, and particularly on YouTube. We really do appreciate it. Okay, let's get back here to the chats. Here is one. Okay, this is from Corinne. She says, "Dear Daniel, I just learned today that the calendar's clerk will accept in office red or green sheets as a record of your issue or on a vote. Besides email we knew about. Question, are we going to form County T&M Day of Action for next legislative session in Austin? Who can rotate and sign up? What about a special session?" Okay, so there's a lot there. So let me take it one bit at a time. So I'm just going to take the question part. Thank you so much for your question. Are we going to form County T&M Day of Action for next legislative session? Yes, that is in the works, right? So we obviously were in the process of restructuring, reorganizing in the counties and in the field. And so one of the things that is part of the training that, counties that are formed up, that are official, they've got 26 different event types. They went from 3 to 26 different event types. And one of those is a capital day of action. And of course, those will be coordinating with our legislative activism program. So yes, so that is your answer. Yes, that's going to happen. Who can rotate and sign up? I would say, look, sign up with, first and foremost, you need to go to local.tnm.me if you have not done that, and go to your county and go register your support for that county. Essentially say, look, if you're not organized, raise your hand and say, I want to help organize the county. They're looking for people, right, to help form up counties, to fill in these county leadership teams, to find support personnel. So, go plug in there. And if your county is already in the process of launching or whatever it is, then stay plugged into your organizational life right there in your county. But I can tell you, the organizational development folks are looking for people right now to help form up counties and help go through that process. So go look at the map. There is a ton of them. So that's where you're going to rotate, sign up. You got to stay plugged in there. Third question is actually, I think, pretty interesting, which is, what about a special session? And I'm guessing you're asking about, what do I think the odds of a special session are? Generally, the odds of a special session are pretty low. However, we have had exceptions. Last session, we ran into multiple special sessions because a big match between the governor's office and Dade Phelan. You're not seeing that now. You've essentially got the governor, and you've got Dustin Burrows, and you've got Dan Patrick all in lockstep. I mean, they might as well be holding hands and going down the beach, taking long walks together. That's the kind of relationship that they're building. And of course, I mean, Abbott was able to make good on his like $12 million of campaign contributions he got for that voucher bill, right? So, he's over the moon. He honestly probably doesn't care about anything else. And so, I don't know that we're going to get anything meaningful. If we had a special session, remember, I think you're at about $1 million a day. I think that's kind of what last time I heard any kind of figures about that was the cost to the taxpayer. So what would the purpose of that special session be? Because understand that when the governor calls a special session, he gets to pick the agenda. And the question is there any pressure on Abbott right now for any major issues? Are any of his donors not getting satisfaction out of this legislative session? So I don't know what that would be. I don't know what that particular issue would be, because I'll be honest, I don't see the people putting a lot of pressure on Abbott at all. I see a lot of people whining and complaining on social media, a lot of people upset, but I'm not seeing any coordinated pressure campaigns. A lot of that's because organizations can't work together. They won't. They just kind of do their thing. They don't coordinate their efforts. And so what happens is you get a bit of a shotgun approach, which does not bring any pressure on the governor's office whatsoever. So what we do know is that all of a special session will probably be dictated to a certain extent by what's going to happen in the next election. I mean, that's really it. With Paxton stepping out to run for Senate, you're going to have some shuffling. And of course, you had Glenn Hager move from comptroller, well, he will very soon, to chancellor over at Texas A&M. Yeah, A&M. Yeah, I think A&M is where I remember, because I don't pay attention to that. But that left a gap. So, at some point, Abbott will probably appoint someone to fill Hager's seat as comptroller. That would be his blessing, aka this is who it is, and it would probably be Christy Craddock. That's where the money is from she's on the Texas Railroad Commission. And so, you'll have some movement there. There's some, obviously, the brouhaha over the AG's office with Paxton being out. So you're getting some rare movement at the top end of the ticket. And, no one knows if, even though Patrick has already announced, there are rumors out there that he is not going to see it to all the way to the filing window, and that he's just doing this to raise money. There's some discussion about what Abbott's going to do. Has he given up on his presidential aspirations? I mean, who knows? But there is still some possibility for some additional movement at the top of the ticket. And I think it would be interesting to see what takes place there. If that's the case, then whether or not you have a special session and what will be on that agenda will be dictated by what sort of movement would be there at the top of the ticket. That's going to be it. So if there's a lot of shuffling, you're probably not going to have a special session. If this is indeed legacy parting shot farewell, like some people are speculating, then you probably won't get a special session at all, or he thinks he's going out on a high note. That's a whole other conversation. But so I don't know. The odds are not high for a special session, but it's been known to happen. I mean, we've still got days left in the session, so let's see what happens. Thank you for that question, Corinne. All right. Okay. Mr. Daniel Miller, you need to run for Texas governor, then debate Abbott. Look, no, and Abbott would never debate me. Never. He never would. I mean, Dan Patrick did not make not a single appearance at any candidate event or forum during the primaries last go around. And if Patrick wouldn't do it, I mean, Abbott's not going to do it. And honestly, for me to even consider something like that, it would take a monumental outpouring of people to say, go do it. Last time I did it because of an open letter from some people that I respected. That was not enough, right? And for something like that, yeah. So I appreciate the sentiment, but that's a negatory, Ghost Rider. Okay, let's get down here. Man, look at this. You guys are jumping up here. Thank you so much for that, Lori, with our super chat. It says, Sam Kemp challenged us last week. I could figure out how to do it. So you figured out how to do it. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate your super chat. And here we go. Here is one from Lee Jacobson. Lee, thank you so much. And by the way, so that letter that I read last week, pulling that letter, was because of something you had mentioned, and I said you're going to like what's coming up, and it was the letter, right? So anyway, Lee, thank you so much. Oh, look, and Lee's one of our channel members. Thanks, Lee. So great job, guys. We appreciate that. If you want to throw in your support, you can also hit the super chat as well. I got a little bit of time left. Let's see here. Yeah, see, you guys are not full of questions. You're full of angst, right? You're full of like, let's just go get them. And that's why I felt sort of badly about maybe being a bit of a Debbie Downer through the first half of this, but you guys, look, you guys need to know I try to be as open with you about where I'm at on things here and here as possible, because look, if we're not sharing with one another, this journey that we're going down, and we can't encourage one another and talk with one another and do those things, then what are we doing here, right? I mean, what is this for? If we're going to build a nation, let's at least be members of that same nation, and let's take care of one another, right? And share and be truthful and do those things, okay? Anyway, Carl says the defenders at the Alamo basically fought to the last man. 189 plus or minus of them were overrun by 4,000 plus Mexican troops. They did not surrender. They fought to the death. They did not surrender. That's correct. That is correct. They didn't. See, you're not always guaranteed to live, right? But the one thing you can do is avoid compromising your principles before you give your last breath. There was something about that generation that fought the Texas Revolution that is just, I mean, it is something that, I'm not saying, I think it's here in Texas. And I'll tell you, I believe that it's here in Texas. I believe that spirit is here. And I believe that spirit is like a flame, right? The brighter it burns, the more people it touches, the more it ignites their flames, right? And I think that's the key. I think that our people have been so conditioned. When I say our people, I'm talking about the Texas people. I think that, and not all of them, but I think Texans have been so conditioned, as I talked about last time, with sort of the trappings of being a Texan, right? The exterior part of it, that they have neglected that interior part of it. Texas is not wearing the hat and the boots and I listen to this kind of music, and I go to these kind of places, and I eat this kind of food. That's the external trappings. It's the internal that I think is problematic, and something that we have to know. Granted, preserving your culture is important, right? The trappings, the clothes, the food, those things, that certain swagger, but it has to come from a place of honesty, right? It has to come from a place deep inside, so that that is what you see on the outside is the outward expression of what's taking place inwardly. And it's kind of a big deal, that attitude. It's one that won our independence and carved effectively an empire out of a wilderness. It tamed this place. And that may be the problem right there, is this place got tamed because its people started getting tamed too. Maybe we need to be a little bit more wild bunch. Who knows? Okay, let's check one more time. Yeah, we're good. So you guys are not particularly talking tonight, but that's all right with me. Look, I'm just really happy that you guys are here tonight, and I want to thank you so much. By the way, do me a favor, sound off in the chat or the comments, wherever you are. Let us know how you got notified about this live stream tonight. It's super important, and it's super important. Well, I don't know if you guys saw this, but you will here in just a second. I'm going to share this with you because this is kind of important. That's why I'm asking the question. There it is. Okay, got it. All right, so here we are on the Texian Partisan, and you may have seen this article right here today. We were right all along. Republicans now facing the same Google censorship the TNM warned about. So little development on that front, and I'll just do this because it's almost time we wrap up. But if you'll recall, a few weeks ago, we made an announcement about this, talked about it on the live stream. It got picked up by Newsweek, essentially where the TNM, we ran these experiments, and we found out that emails with keywords dealing with the TNM, dealing with Texas Nationalist Movement or Texit, were ending up, about 80% of them, depending on what the keywords were, ending up in spam boxes. And we tested Gmail. Subsequently, we've tested Yahoo and all these. Well, got to keep that close to the vest. But the point here is that the challenge has been our inability to communicate with you guys, right? I mean, the big tech censorship has never stopped. Don't even get me started on X, formerly known as Twitter, because that people talk about that being a free speech platform. That is a bunch of bull crap. That is a lie. Okay. So today, news broke that the National Republican Senatorial Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee both filed complaints with the Federal Trade Commission because election-related emails during the last election cycle were being sent straight to spam folders by none other than Google, aka Gmail. So, for everybody out there that the Pee Wee Herman lookalikes and some of those guys that were saying that it was a bunch of crap, that we made it up. Yeah, it's a family show, so I'm not going to say what's on my mind, but we told you so, right? We know we could prove that it was happening. We watched it happen in real time through our testing. And so this is what's happening. I mean, so just so you understand, for all those naysayers out there who said that this was a bunch of crap, that this wasn't happening, it's to the level where the two major election committees in the Republican National, the Republican Party National, the RNC, have filed complaints with the Federal Trade Commission. Now, we're not going to file complaints with the Federal Trade Commission because I don't want to have anything to do with the feds, right? But perhaps there's something that our Attorney General could do in relation to this, because it's happening, and Google has a presence here in Texas. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's happening? But it is an unfair trade practice. I think it's tortious interference, but that's don't even want to talk about that. Okay. But the point here is, understand that when we told you this was going on, and you went and told other people it was going on, and they said that we were full of crap, understand now that we were telling the truth. And it's those people that are full of crap because they don't want to believe that we're being suppressed. They don't want to believe that we're right. And, let's talk about it. I mean, the TNM Twitter account today posted that we ought to start a weekly series or a daily series called We Told You So, because it's happening so often. So anyway, yes, rock and roll, guys. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. A reminder, if you have not already pledged your support, head over to tnm.me/vote and do that right now. This is for all you newcomers out there, because when you do, it's going to create an account for you on our website. First and foremost, we need numbers, right? We need to show those numbers. But then you'll get access to TNM Social, so you can download the TNM mobile app, and then we can overcome this big tech censorship, right? This nonsense where they won't let us communicate with you. But anyway, make that happen. And look, if you did not want to take a dive into the super chats tonight, head over to donate.tnm.me and make a contribution today. I mean, we really, really could use your help. It's pretty bare out there right now. And, I don't get paid. I work a day job. I have Karen and I do tech consulting, right? We got our own business. And so everything I do is spread out. But let me tell you who doesn't work for free, right? Who are not volunteers. The server, the web hosting company, the phone company, that they don't volunteer their services, right? When the U.S. Postal Service, when we have to mail things, they don't do, they're not volunteers. They want money. So you can help us if you can. I don't care what it is, $1, $2, $5, whatever it is, we could use your support right now. All right, friends. I do believe that is going to be a wrap. I will. I'm gonna think a lot between now and the next coffee talk about that letter and about this legislative session. Maybe we'll get some folks on here. I mean, I'm waiting on the session to end because we've got some legislators that want to talk, and we're gonna let them talk and give you some inside scoop on what's going on. But maybe we need to get some folks on here to give their observations as well. I'll tell you, I talked to a former state rep on the phone earlier this week, and man, oh man, his perspective about being from being there to kind of watching it from the outside, his perspective on what's going down is pretty doggone interesting. And I'm looking forward to talking to him more about that. Maybe we'll have him on too. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to leave you with the words that I leave you with every single time we're together. They're not my words. They're the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.